Hello, and welcome to the October 5th meeting of the Sedgwick County Stimulus Care Act Stimulus Review Team. Today we will continue on with the review of applications for public health providers and social service providers. Before we jump in, I'd like to take a quick roll call. Dr. Walker?
Present.
Kyle?
Here.
Jane?
Present.
Hope?
Here.
Brent?
Here.
Melody? She is not here with us yet. And Mark? He's also not here with us yet. All right. Thank you very much. And Brent, I will toss it over to you.
Thank you, Aaron. Good morning. Glad to have everyone with us this morning. As Aaron mentioned, we're going to try to get through the rest of the list of agencies that we have not reviewed yet. We've got a couple that, well, more than a couple that have given us some supplemental information after review by the committee last week. So then we'll take those up, and we're scheduled to be in this meeting from until noon today. So we'll see how far we get. At the conclusion of this meeting, the award recommendations will be all summed up. We'll take that to the Board of County Commissioners on Wednesday for their approval, and that will then start the agreement and the funding process that we will begin to put this money out to the public health and social service agencies. One thing is that I do want to mention is that the team, we do have a meeting scheduled for Thursday. I think that unless we can see how far we get today, but we might want to think about whether or not we need to have that meeting this Thursday. So just keep that in the back of our minds, and we'll see how far we get as we go through the process today. So I've got a list that we can take up. A couple of them, if we take them in alphabetical order, we have two that I just want to make sure that we are all clear on. The first one is Air Capital Charities, and Air Capital Charities gave us a request of $21,800. That was all for PPE and protective PPE or increased disinfectant costs. So that one has been approved. The second one is Arrowhead West, and Arrowhead West has a total amount requested of $7,496. And if I recall, early in the process, the committee approved that funding, but that was before we were doing the formal open meetings and making the approvals in the meeting. So I would make a motion that we formally approve $7,496 for Arrowhead West.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve $7,496 for Arrowhead West. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. And that motion passes unanimously. Let me ask Hope if you have any, you got a lot of follow-up information. Would you like to deal with those at this time? And you can kind of take us through in the order that you might be prepared to speak to some of these items. One of the questions that we had last week dealt with the marketing program from the African American Council of Elders. And we have some folks with county staff that are going to join us at 9:30 and speak to those marketing efforts as they compare with the county's marketing efforts. So if you've got some that we can take up in about a 15-minute time frame, then we'll have a hard stop at 9:30, bring those folks into the meeting, and then discuss that.
Sure. If you wouldn't mind, Brent, we could start with It Takes a Village.
Okay.
I sent out some information to the team yesterday. I sent that email out at 11:26 a.m. The original ask on this application was $139,520. Once we went back and asked them some prorating questions on their salaries, basically saying it needed to end on December 30th, 2020, and not the school year. With that, they have decreased their ask to $70,240, and that's a decrease of $69,280. And I broke out kind of what the decrease was. But they have a staff prorated cost now of $56,280. Meals are $5,460. They have a reduction in their disinfectant costs. So I know that previously we approved their PPE and disinfectant cost. So we'll need to talk about that. But it went from $4,000 down to $2,500. PPE is $1,500. They have a temporary facility cost ask of $4,000, $500 in any other emerging needs. And then they also removed that laptop line for $5,000 because they submitted the application prior to finding out that USD 259 was going to give laptops to all of the students. So with that, we will be approving their application ask of $70,240.
Hope, I have a question about this application. Are
Sure.
they did they hire 4 new staff members to provide support for school?
Yes. This applicant has been very, very kind in offering lots and lots of follow-up information. So yes, they did. They hired, I'm trying to find where it's at in this huge email train. But they need to have 2 additional staff to help with doing the schooling now, since a lot of those students can't actually physically go into school. So that's what that request is for that $56,280.
Okay,
And
so it's
provide- Yeah, and then they provide the 2 meals a day. So that's kind of where they went on to that too, where that's where the $5,460 went for that in-school teachers and for the food.
and starting in March.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And Hope, I'm going to have some follow-up questions, really pertaining to the same thing that Dr. Walker just asked. And not only will this go for It Takes a Village, but I believe, let me look through, there's an addition, Salvation Army is going to be in the other one once we get to it. So they're doing remote learning and with students with USD 259, my guess is, I'm thinking USD 259 students. Is USD 259 still capturing the dollars, the state dollars for those students? And then those community organizations that are actually doing either latchkey type learning and or remote learning, they're not able to capture those dollars, that the state typically, that follows a student that's being educated. Do we know that?
No, I do not know that.
That's yeah.
Well,
I don't think
thought
I had asked that at a previous meeting.
I understood, because this is really a shelter for troubled children, that this was in addition to anything the school district was doing, because they just need more support for those students, which makes sense to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm once again, I am supportive of It Takes a Village and familiar with the wonderful work that they do. I just wondered if those dollars, it appears as though those dollars still stay with the district, but students are being educated.
Well, I thought the online was coming into this facility. They simply had people to help with what the school district is. That's what I understood was providing.
Yeah,
So
I'm thinking that's it, but I'm going to have that same query for Salvation Army. So, but there's okay. and I'll wait until we get to Salvation Army, so.
Jane and Melody, can you pull the microphones in front of you closer to you?
Oh, sure. Can you hear us better now?
Much better.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. So our understanding is that this is supplemental, additional assistance in terms of learning remotely for this group of students. I'm just clarifying that. Is that our understanding?
Yeah, well, they had talked in the email chain I sent out that with the recent announcement by USD 259 for the regarding the virtual learning, we were faced with the challenge of the majority of our 25 teens receiving the remote education model and our team creating an equitable environment. That they anticipate additional expenses as per the CARES applications as we move our teens to a neutral location at a building where we can practice social distancing while maintaining a daily routine for our kids. Our goal is to provide the 25 teens with a venue that maximizes the opportunity for educational attainment and provides the support system to enhance their opportunity for progressing towards graduation. So I think like you guys had said, they're not necessarily providing that education, but they're there supporting, and now they're just trying to make sure. So they said it's additional expenses, but they didn't actually talk about if they had received any funds for each of the students.
The request just seems too low, given what it is they say they're doing. I'm having a hard time reconciling the amount that they're requesting and what they say they're doing. So they have another space that allows them to physically distance among the 25 kids in foster care that they serve in the residential setting? That last thing that you said threw me a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, they've
because
got-
I had asked I did a follow-up question yesterday again, last night, and asked them on the temporary facility cost of $4,000, how is it related to COVID? And is it a new facility or something you had to rent? And they said that if they were able to negotiate a 4-month rental agreement with Del Rose United Methodist Church leadership to use their basement. So yes, it is something new that they're going to be renting out so that they can maintain social distance in a separate area where it's clean, and they can also do the remote learning there in a quiet educational space.
Yeah. And they
Thank you.
clearly
That
state that leasing the space will be able to reduce our overall expenses by consolidating resources as we implement our logistical strategic plan by staffing one centralized remote learning location, that is the Delrose United Methodist Church, rather than in the 7 transitional living homes. So, yeah, it's a consolidation. So maybe that's where cost reduction or expense reduction is occurring.
Well, I'm supportive of this. I would move that we approve the $70,240 for It Takes a Village.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve $70,240 for It Takes a Village. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign? Motion passes unanimously.
All right, are we ready to move on to one more, Brent, before 9:30?
We'll give it a shot.
I'm sorry?
We'll give it a shot.
Okay, sorry, I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing. So, okay, so let's move to the Salvation Army. All right. So just a reminder, the Salvation Army is asking for $164,730. So I had sent out additional information that the team had asked for. I sent it out yesterday at 10:57 a.m. Just as I read that, they actually needed to increase their application ask by $800. They said that when they were filling out the application in the expanding services cost, the $103,000, they accidentally left off the $800. So that ask is $103,800. So they had, I don't know if everyone had a chance to read this, but the $30,000 food assistance number is the $10,000 a month for October, November, and December for the 3 Salvation Army services in Wichita. And they said December is the most crucial month because most food pantries will shut down their food assistance on December 15th until the 1st of the new year, but the Salvation Army stays open. So they said that that's most crucial for them. On the $103,000 in the expanding service cost, that's broken out where it's the staffing, 2 per site, 20 children per site. So that's going to be $46,800 for all 3 of those sites. Supplies is $30,000, internet access is $3,000, and computer equipment was $24,000 for all 3. And so that's where it comes to $103,800 on the expanding service costs. They talked about the Camp Hiawatha employees. They said their salaries were added for 2 reasons. That number 1, the Salvation Army is a 501c3 church status and has chosen not to participate in unemployment benefits for employees, and therefore their Camp Hiawatha employees would have been laid off without any unemployment eligibility benefits. And then number 2, due to COVID-19, they basically lost all of their volunteers who help facilitate the services that they provide, and to be able to provide the expanded and essential services during the pandemic crisis, they needed those employees from the camp to help deliver the services quickly and effectively. And then 4, the hazard pay during the quarantine for emergency homeless shelter employees. This was listed in the area of description of your request narrative. The very last line that states hazard pay during quarantine for emergency homeless shelter employees is $5,816. This was the total amount of hazard pay to our employees that work during the quarantine time in our 24-hour homeless shelter. And that was all the questions that I had that you guys asked me to get with them about.
So I'll begin with some questions that I had. It's in the same realm or vein that I was asking about. It takes a village, and I think I understand it better, from supplementing the educational rigor that's coming from USD 259 remotely. They clearly say, Salvation Army says Latchkey does refer to providing education remotely for the 20 middle and high school students. We know that those are the very students that are not in the classroom. And they're calling it remote learning time. So, I'm just, projecting that or extrapolating out that they are the additional employees, which I know it's the 2 from the staffing per site, is for probably oversight for those students doing the remote learning. And then have they budgeted this out through the 31st of December? Because if we recall, and if USD 259 board selects to bring students back, my understanding is that doing the remote learning only for 8 through 12 is for the first 9 weeks. They are looking at bringing those students back into the building if parents, they can choose a hybrid, but they're saying that those students will come back into the building in the second 9 weeks. So I don't know if that's captured in this. I don't think it is, and the decision has not been made determinately. So, yeah, that's going to be my query, my question.
I don't think any of the applications, I think that this is just kind of estimating that they're estimating for a worst case scenario that they would keep the kids this whole time. And I guess the kind of fallback we have on that is, again, they have to turn in receipts and,
Sure.
and things like that. So for those kind of expenses, they would have to be able to, provide the cost for that. So I think we would have a good fallback on that.
That makes sense, since it's reimbursable.
I had a question on the camp people. It just seems to me those had to be already budgeted salaries. So do they qualify? Would be my question for CARES funding. They were existing employees. It's not hazard pay, so wasn't their salaries already in their budget?
I would think that they would be, except they're providing support to deliver services that have changed because of COVID. So Salvation Army doesn't have a volunteer workforce now, so they're using the camp volunteers to fill that purpose.
One of the things that the county has and experiences that we have people that, although they were budgeted, they've been substantially dedicated to COVID. And so those are eligible expenses that we
But
can,
they don't say they're devoted to COVID. They just say they're delivering their normal services.
No, there's a point in the application, it might take me a minute to find it, where or maybe it's in the communication to Hope. I can't remember where I read it, but they explicitly say that volunteers were not able to provide support, and that's the role. I think it's in one of the replies to Hope.
Yes.
Okay, I'll let you take it from there.
No, yeah, I read it a few minutes ago, but yeah, they said specifically that they weren't able to get volunteers and that those services are critical and had to be done. So that's why the Camp Hiawatha employees went over and did that work in place of it.
Are we ready for a motion?
I am, yes.
I would like to move that we allocate or recommend an allocation of $165,530 to Salvation Army.
I'll second that.
can I have a point of clarification?
That doesn't include the salaries.
Their total ask was the 164,730 plus the additional $800 is all they're asking for.
But that doesn't include the Hiawatha salaries. If you look at their app, that's not in that number.
So which salaries are you looking at?
The Camp Hiawatha
The
people
Camp
we were just
Hiawatha, the
talking about.
61,530?
Those salaries, I don't think are in the 164.
Let me grab my calculator and join you.
Well, they've got requests for reimbursement not found in other categories, so, and there's no other numbers that are big enough, so I don't think they're there.
You might be right. Let's hold off on a vote until we do some calculating here.
Yeah.
Well, now my numbers are all off. So can we do the walk through the application thing that we usually do? So they're asking for, let's just break it down into their component parts. The request is for $103,800 for this expansion,
Yeah,
the
right.
remote learning expansion, plus another $30,000 for
For food.
food. Have I
Correct.
got that right?
Yes.
Okay. So check. We've already allocated $5,390 and $2,103 for PPE and disinfectant. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And the hazard pay that they were requesting was $5,816?
I don't think it's in those, yes, that's correct, but I don't think it's under their adjustment to service dollars.
I don't think so either, so it's not there, right?
I don't think that is, I don't think the emergency shelter, that, in that big first paragraph, 61,530, 1,498, and 5,816, totaling 68,844, I don't think is in the other categories.
I think you're right.
There's nothing big enough for them to be in there.
Yeah, I think you're right. So Hope, can you go back and figure out the correct amount?
Yeah, I'm gonna put myself on mute and give them a call real quick so we can try to hopefully get it resolved during
Yeah.
this call.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I get to the 165,530
Right,
with the 103,8, the 30,000,
right,
and the 31,730.
right. So
And the way
you've got
that
to
this-
add 68,844 for those other three
Right.
Yeah,
amounts.
say the three again, Jane. The Camp Hiawatha staff, the hazard pay, and what was the other one?
It
800.
says emergency social services employee part-time to full-time, 1,498.
Right.
So those three items total 68,844. And I think you have to add that to the 165,530. For a
Hope-
total of 234,374, if my
Yeah,
math
that's
is
the
right.
number I'm coming up with too, so.
Hope you're sending out a note to Salvation Army.
I'm gonna follow up with them right now, and I'm gonna give them a phone call to see if we can get it resolved during this
Yeah,
meeting.
I would like a
Right, we
confirmed,
should-
a
I'm
confirmation
good
from,
with that.
from Salvation Army, yeah.
And we could make that tentative award and wait to hear back from them. If they don't need it and don't send us receipts, we're not gonna pay for it, so,
My preference would be to wait.
okay. Shall we table this one and move to the African American Alliance? We've got
Right,
some
but if we,
staff folks.
if
that
we don't get back, we could go back and,
Right.
if they don't come back.
If they don't, yeah. Okay, let's look at the application. The African American Alliance, let's make sure we get the right one. It's the one that original amount was 542,000, I believe,
This is a publicity campaign?
the marketing campaign.
Okay. And could we kind of look at that in conjunction with the Crime Commission marketing campaign? Because they seem to me to overlap.
Yeah.
That would be number 684
For
for the
Crime Commission.
Crime
the
Commission.
Crime Commission. say core, the 40,000.
Correct, $40,000.
Okay, let me go back. Here.
Just for background, I did kind of calculate these out, and there's some one-time costs if you move those over to the total column, and then 4 months at the monthly rate comes down to their 542,000 ask. So they've got 4 months of placement costs for the monthly things. That's what it would total to. And we don't have 4 months to do it.
Right.
The staff that's going to be joining us.
I think, Tanya, are you on the meeting at this point?
I am, Brent. I'm on.
Okay. Are you prepared to speak to the county's marketing efforts, how those correlate with, or maybe don't, with the applications that we've received here from the Crime Commission and from the African American Council of Elders?
Sure. I will just tell you, as far as our public awareness campaign, we started that in May. And it's something that we have done countywide, but we did, there was a meeting that occurred approximately mid-May with Commissioner Cruz and Commissioner Howe with the Black Alliance. And the outcome of that meeting was to make sure that as a county, we were making sure that we had communication and education with the African American community. And so an outcome of that was we hired two communication firms, and that was CML Collective, and we have been working with Christina Long with CML Collective, and AB&C Bilingual Resources, and that's Claudia Amaro with AB&C Bilingual Resources, to make sure that they were assisting us with both the African American community and the Hispanic community, to make sure that we were, hitting both of those communities with our public awareness campaign of COVID-19, and also making sure that anything that we put out was very culturally relevant for these communities. So our public awareness campaign has started since May, and it will run till about mid-November. And we have put everything out, I would say, from, and give me just a second because I'm looking at our campaign, but everything as far as digital, so digital billboards, that would be social media, that'd be digital ads, as well as static billboards. We've put out radio ads, we've put out TV ads, we've put out print ads, and specific to the Hispanic community and the African American community, we've hit like the Community Voice, Power 93.9, La Raza, Radio Lobo, and then, just countywide, we've made sure that we have hit everything, even, in the smaller communities and cities, as, within Sedgwick County. So I think that our platforms we've tried to hit just about every media platform that we could possibly hit throughout our public awareness campaign. And to date, we have, as far as funding, we've asked for $150,000 to date. As far as our media platforms, I think we have invested about $115,000 through COP Media. I would say the rest is probably would mostly be invested into our into our hang on, I'm struggling for words here. Our communications professionals.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
Yes. As far as our the actual spending on the media platforms, we've probably invested about 115 to 120,000. That's just our estimate. And then the rest of that 150,000 would probably be invested in our communications consultants.
So the total budget's thus far is 150?
Of the 150,000.
Is 150,000. That is the budget that's.
Now, I just might add to
Oh.
understand that, we have a communications in-house. So, our art director has done a lot of the work in-house. That we've put out, through these media platforms. So our radio ads, any advertisements that we've put out, any, type of media, that's done through our art director, and he is in-house.
So that's all part of the county portion of the CARES monies paying for that?
Correct.
Okay.
Since these entities are part of, that you're working with, the consultants are part of at least one of the applications, can you tell us, Tanya, a little bit more about what specifically the Longs and ABNC Bilingual Services do? How are they supporting your communications?
Sure. A, B, and C bilingual. So what they have helped us with is, again, to help us when we put anything out to make sure that the images are culturally relevant to the Hispanic community. So that's one. Two, they would help us with any translation. So if we're putting anything out, they would translate that for us to make sure that the translation is accurate for the Hispanic community. And then three, just helping us to, understand where we should be putting, billboard signs or what radio stations or anything like that would hit the Hispanic community where they felt we would be best served to relate to the Hispanic community.
Have you gotten any feedback on your communications campaign, your awareness campaign?
We have. We get some reports back from Cop Media that says, how many hits we have. And I do have that. I don't have it readily available, but I can get that information to you, on how many hits we get on our social media platforms. That states how well we're doing.
We're considering funding requests, a couple of different communications funding requests. How would the county communications campaign around COVID-19 and relate to, be supported by, or not, additional efforts? What would that look like, or could it look like?
Help me understand that question again, Dr. Walker.
We have a couple of applications before us to do targeted communication, to provide information to both the Black community and the Latinx community. So I'm wondering how that would relate to the county communication efforts that are already underway.
Well, it sounds to me like it would just be additional or enhancing our communications effort to me. And it sounds like it would probably target more of the African American community. I mean, I think we've tried to, put our advertising as much as we possibly can to those, to the African American and Hispanic community. Sounds like this would just even be more enhanced for the African American community. I didn't see the other application, so I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Well, the Crime Commission is even the same firms that are already being paid by the county, right? AB and C Linguistics and CML Collective.
It is.
Yeah.
So, is it Tanya?
Tanya.
Tanya?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I was just looking at the spelling of your name. I wanted to make sure. just as Dr. Walker, no, what you just stated, it may be helpful for you to actually have the communications or budget in front of you to be able to build in what it is that the county has already not only budgeted for, but has implemented in terms of being targeting the Black community as well as the Latinx communities. And it does sound as though and we talked a bit about this on Thursday, that that's being done. Currently, I'm trying to think, in their application for the communication application, I think in our discussion as a committee on Thursday, we were wanting to make sure that we looked at first employing or contracting with entities that are local, being able to resource local entities, as well as identifying the actual action steps that have been taken and or the marketing plan that's being implemented by the county, and how it overlays and or is a duplication of what the Black Alliance, the Council of Elders, the African American Council of Elders communication application says. So it may be beneficial for you to actually have that communication app in front of you so that you can see what's a duplication of services that's already in play, and how there may very well be an opportunity to cooperatively work together, because it sounds as though we are sourcing marketing firms that are local, that know our community, and the application actually said that that's what they would do. Yes, the firms are cited in Washington, D.C., but they within that application that we didn't get the detailed one, which I think was several pages long, and I think Hope was going to be getting that to us, but I didn't see it. Within it, my understanding is that they did say that they would actually employ or contract with local entities. So I just wanted to add that, because you haven't seen that other application, have you? The communication.
I have not. I just have the 1 or 2 page memo in front of me, and it's quite condensed. But I'd be happy to look at that.
Tanya, I've got another question for you.
Okay.
You said of the $150,000 that's been allocated to communications around COVID, the county communications around COVID, about 100,000, 120,000 of that is for spots. Is that to produce audio, to produce video, to produce content for the web? Is it to pay for advertising? What exactly is that?
So it's basically all of your advertising that you would do, that you are putting out on social media, that you're putting out on radio, that you're putting out on print, that you're putting out on billboards. It's everything that you're putting your advertising into.
So you're paying for advertising?
Correct.
Okay, so you're not using
your marketing.
Sorry?
It's everything that you're paying to do your marketing, to put all of your advertising out there, your public awareness.
Okay, so they're public service announcements, they're PSAs.
That's correct. With this, we're also getting some free advertising with it as well. So we have a media firm, Cop Media, who's helping us with this. And so as they are working on this, we're also getting some free advertising with it.
So they're actually buying placements so that you're buying time on the radio or wherever at a specific time of day when people that we're targeting are most likely to be listening or watching?
That's correct, Dr. Walker. Yeah, so we would have like 5-second spots, or we'd have 30-second spots. And as they're working with these radio stations, they're also we're also working with them to get free advertising as well. So, you know, we may get a 5-second spot that we're paying for, but we're also getting a 5-second spot that we're getting for free because they're PSAs as well.
Okay. Tell me the name of the media company that's doing the buying.
It's COP Media, COPP Media.
Thank you.
And Tanya, what is the timeline for the media campaign?
The media campaign started mid-June, and I believe it runs till mid-November. And I'll be honest with you, that's just where we're at right now. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to come back and ask for additional funding to continue our public awareness campaign. And I think it may, you know, right now it's healthy behaviors. So it's social distancing, wear a mask, wash your hands. As we continue to ramp up testing, I think we may come back and ask for additional funding so we can put public awareness out about testing.
And these dollars came, once again, from the allotted county CARES Act dollars that were encumbered.
That's correct. That's correct.
Mm-hmm. And once again, Commissioner Cruz and Commissioner Howe met with the Black Alliance, and out of that came the decision to market both the Black community and the Latinx communities with media dollars to focus on educating and informing as well as testing. I'm just doing an oversight.
Back in May, they had a meeting with the Black Alliance, and the Black Alliance was very clear that they wanted to make sure that there was communication and education with the African American and Hispanic community. And so out of that meeting, that's when we basically made a commitment to make sure that we were, as we were putting, you know, our public awareness campaign together, that we were making sure that we were putting that communication and education towards the African American community and Hispanic community. And that's when we hired CML Collective and AB&C Bilingual Resources to assist us with that.
Thank you.
And they have been with us since May. We have been consulting with them since May throughout this whole period.
Mm-hmm.
If you do continue with communications around testing, which I hope you do, will you continue to work with these two groups of consultants?
Yes, Dr. Walker, I've asked them to continue on with us until, you know, COVID is after us, or completed, or finished.
Gone.
Thank you.
So I'm looking at, I just happened to look back over at the Wichita Metro Crime Commission, and how do we, so their ask, and I'm kind of incorporating the two. So is it okay for us to talk about the Crime Commission also? So their ask is a little bit more detailed in terms of what it is that I'm thinking it is, of what it is that they would like to do. So they say the targeted populations, you know, prior knowledge, similar campaigns were referenced for cost development and implementation. They talk about the disparities in death within the African American community, and it was determined that this population is resistant to getting the mental health care that they need. So not only is it, their ask is not solely for COVID, they're also incorporating the mental health barriers that sometimes that we know exist, that it actually aligns with the ABSI portion of the Council of Elders Black Alliance application, looking at it through a mental health lens or a mental wellness lens. So did we want to shift or were there additional questions for the communication portion of the budget from the committee?
So Tanya, the county's efforts do not address the mental health issues. Is that correct? Probably not.
Could you ask that question again? I'm sorry.
The county's communications are not addressing the stigma of needing mental health support.
There are some communications efforts around that, but if you're talking about what I'm specifically working towards, not in this particular effort right now, but I think ComCare could probably address that because I know that they have a public awareness campaign towards that.
But would that be just targeted generally, not specifically to any demographic?
Are you asking me, Brent?
Yes.
Yes. I might suggest that you get Joan Tammany to speak towards that.
Okay.
But you're describing a communications effort like what the county is doing, but directed specifically at people who experience severe mental illness and may be served by ComCare. Is that what you're talking about, Tanya?
Yes.
Okay. And are they, but they have their own campaign, their own consultants, their own.
Yes, I think that they've been working on something recently on public awareness, but I just can't speak to that. I would really rather refer that to ComCare at this point.
Okay, thank you. That's clear.
Do we have additional questions for Tanya? Do we want to continue to?
The only thing that I would ask Tanya, if you don't mind doing this, is sharing with Hope or Brent the impact of the campaign so far, what seems to be most effective.
Sure. Is that for a follow-up, Dr. Walker? I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And
Thanks a
what
lot.
I would
Appreciate
like,
your
I would
time.
like for Tanya to actually receive the budget that actually, I think was for 4 months, according to Jane's numbers, and see similarities, if there could be a comparison. It sounds pretty similar. And they do say that they would, the firm says that they were going to actually contract with someone local. So I'd like to hear what the comparisons are, what may be different. So I'm thinking, Hope, you have that handy enough that you can share that with Tanya, please.
Melody, this is Melissa. I think the primary difference between these two communication requests is that the Crime Commission request specifically names Belongs and A, B, and C as partners in this effort. And the Black Alliance communications application does not. But that's one of the nice things about the position that we're in. We are seeing applications from different organizations, so we can, it's an opportunity to connect people with resources to help them accomplish their goals.
Actually, what I was thinking about was with the county's current marketing plan. Not so much the difference between the Crime Commission and the Council of Elders. I'd like
Well, this
to do a side-by-side with what Sedgwick County is actually implementing currently from a
Yeah.
communications perspective.
I think that's a good idea. I'm just noting that the Crime Commission application that talks about creating influencer videos names the same entities to provide support reaching the Black and Latinx communities. And that they're talking about doing influencer videos, and I'm not sure, maybe this is a question Tanya can answer. I don't know if videos is part of what you're doing, if you're getting real people on video, and that's part of what's being incorporated into public service announcements, talking about steps they're taking to protect themselves, people who are Latin, people who are Black.
We have not. We just did a series of videos with doctors, and that's something that we're getting ready to push out. But prior to that, they were more animation videos that we've pushed out.
Okay, thanks. That's helpful. But I think Melody's onto something here. We want to coordinate these communication efforts so there isn't duplication. There's so much communications work to do, including getting people who represent the people we're trying to reach with messages about best practices and around healthy behaviors and testing and so on and so forth, to try and amplify messages of the county and target them to communities of color who are disproportionately affected by the virus. I mean, that's the goal for all of us.
I think what I'm hearing at this point is that you would like to see the county's communications division to review their plan against these two plans and look for those overlaps and provide a report back to this group.
Overlaps and, yes, and opportunities.
Okay. Okay.
I think, though, that the specific crime commission that we're looking at right now really does also has the ability to dovetail into the ABSI training that's suggested, because it's looking at mental wellness, mental health, stigma, and when we were chatting on Thursday, I think the question came out, so what is the difference between cultural competency and this culturally affirming training and trauma informed and culturally affirming training? I think that is something that when you actually look at, and let me see if I can pull that up, the project up. When you're looking at the healing circles, it's going to be the service areas, I believe, 1 and 2. It actually does sets the stage for training the trainers, for actually having a specific number of individuals that can do effectively, not only train, but in order to be prepared to train, to have a culturally affirming and trauma-informed lens that they come from. And I don't know that that's, I mean, I'm probably fairly certain that that's not what is included in the mental health component of the Wichita Crime Commission application. So I think there may be an opportunity for these two to dovetail, because that's what that's what they're wanting to do. They're wanting to impact, knowing that the disparities exist. But in order to effectively train, you have to come from a trained perspective. So, if it makes sense. But I'm just trying to tie the two together.
Okay.
Connect the dots, I think is what Dr. Walker was saying on Thursday.
I think those are all good points, and I don't know, this is a question for Brent, the degree to which we can encourage applicants to work with the folks at the county who are engaged in communications and with other entities that might receive awards to put together a communication effort. Is that something that the county team will do after the awards are made, or what are you thinking about that?
Tanya, what do you think about your capacity for that? For communications to work with folks?
I think we'd be happy to work with these organizations, on communications and how we can collaborate and partner with them.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I think I am hearing is that we would table the Wichita Crime Commission ask for $40,000 for their marketing campaign, and then also table the marketing campaign request from the African American Council of Elders, and then communications will review all these and try to come up with a holistic recommendation moving forward on those two.
Do we know when?
Yeah. the
I hated to
time-
say that,
Time frames
but
are getting
times- yeah.
tight.
Ugh.
I mean, almost seems to me we're heading towards the crime commission partnering with the county. I'm not sure the hiring these other national firms makes sense. But
Okay.
Not if they're going to that's why I want to be able to see what's the difference in what it is that they have budgeted, identified, and they're saying that they would contract with firms here. So we may be already doing a lot of it. I can't tell until we see it.
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Melody, you mentioned the other application from the African American Council of Elders. Why don't we take that up at this point? If
So do we need another explainer or briefing?
Brent, I have a quick housekeeping question. Is there any way that the volume on the mics can be turned up a little bit at all? I know you
Sorry.
can't do it, but it's just really hard for some of us to hear. So I'm sure maybe for anyone watching on YouTube or Facebook, it might be hard for them to hear as well.
I'll move it closer. Does
Yeah,
that
and
help?
I've been trying to actually speak into it, but is that better?
Yeah, that helps a little bit, but it's a little hard to hear.
It's still hard to hear.
Hope, unfortunately, the mics are as loud as they can go right now.
Okay. Thanks for trying, Aaron.
Just boost the volume on your listening device.
I'm maxed out. Maybe it's my computer. It's old, so don't worry about me.
We're forcing you to
that's
lean in
possible.
this morning. Hope. Hope, do you have additional information to share on the other application? It's number 697.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So I sent out an email yesterday that was provided. So we're looking at 697. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Or is it 679?
I think he means
697,
679,
I
the
think.
telehealth devices. Is that
Okay,
what
I
you're
thought I was
looking
going crazy.
Which one is it?
Okay, thank you.
Nine.
Yes, on 679 for the $40,000 for the telehealth devices. I kind of just asked if they could give us more
What?
information on how this relates to COVID.
Hope.
So it says
No.
this idea was
Hope.
not really an option
Hope.
pre-COVID.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay,
What?
697 is the other application for the African American Council of Elders. And then 679 is the one for the Crime Commission. So I think we're looking.
Okay.
We were looking at
Hope and I will catch
677.
up to you
Yes.
eventually.
I don't know that I have follow-up information. Let's see.
I don't think I got anything, so.
No, we don't have follow-up information. We just have what we had talked about at the prior meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Because-
didn't ask for follow-up information.
Well, I did send a note to Hope,
Oh, did you?
and I think Hope sent me a note back that said that she made the request.
Okay.
Let me see. Well, I did send you if what you're talking about is that 20-page document, Melody, if that's what you're kind of referring to.
I can't remember if I had an
20-page
additional question.
That's why we had talked about it at last week's meeting, just because it's too much information for me to kind of discuss in a group setting.
So the 20-page document is the communication. It goes with the communication request or budget, I believe.
The Wichita Outreach Campaign proposal. Here, I'll send this out to the group right now. It was sent on 9:30.
Let's see. Let's hope.
Okay, I'm not sure when I sent this out, but I just sent it again.
Okay, because sorry, I
And
didn't
this
see it.
was, the contact said, this is a long version of the communication proposal that explains the deliverable. It identifies the items per month cost. The overall cost will be adjusted based on the approval date. And it is a Word document. Let's see. Where it kind of it breaks out the advertising cost towards the bottom, but it does talk a lot about what they're focusing on and what they're trying to communicate via their campaign. And so it talks about like the print ads would be $2,000, placement would be $6,000 a month. They talk about their radio spots, how that'd be $1,000 per month, and placement's $10,000 per month. Television spots, production costs $3,000 per month, and placement at 4 stations is $80,000 per month.
We
They
already
talk
had
about
that.
the social media and the management and
This
coordination.
is going to have just more.
And that's where they come with that
More
grand total of the
information.
$635,500.
It's, for whatever reason, I can't.
And this is what they had sent Melody in direct response to the question that you asked me to ask
Right.
them.
And we haven't gotten anything in addition, because
No.
I've had an opportunity to actually talk with share the request and the questions that the committee had made.
No,
And
yeah,
I-
if you
and
could
I-
share that with the group, that would be great.
Yeah, and I also asked them to review the video of the meeting, the Thursday meeting, which was, pretty succinct with how we wanted to move forward. But once again, that's the only thing that we've received to date.
Yes, I haven't received anything further from
Okay.
that applicant.
All right.
Me personally, I don't know if Aaron or anybody else has, but I have not.
I have not, no.
Is there anything that you want to share with us that you kind of learned?
No, it was basically the conversation was me letting them know what the concerns, questions were, and to refer back to the actual meeting to be very specific about how to respond. I talked about being able to coordinate with the county efforts, we're not looking to duplicate, to connect the dots, use our Wichita resources. I mentioned Kate Flavin as your communications point of contact. So it pretty much went from the notes that I had taken from the meeting regarding the questions that we had. So the only revised budget, or the revised budget that we have to date, is going to be the one for the mental health, mental wellness, that went from the 795 or the 750 to the 194,000. And with that, I believe we still have some additional questions.
So are we back on that one, not the advertising or the media?
Yeah, we were
Is that where
looking-
we're at?
I don't think we have any additional information from the media
So-
one.
Okay.
So I think we're waiting. What I'd like to do is, let me make sure I get into the mic. I'd like to be able to see a comparison, and I think Brent has already recaptured or restated what it is that I think would be good for us to see where if and where duplication may be with what it is that the county has already budgeted, and the marketing plan that's being implemented currently. I asked for a timeline, and what I heard from Tanya is that it goes through, I believe, the middle part of, this is the county's marketing plan, through the middle of November, that she is more than likely going to extend that there will be a continued focus on targeted populations specific to testing. But what I'm requesting is a side-by-side to see where the overlap is, if there are differences that can still be accomplished with the communication plan that's been submitted by either the Wichita Crime Commission and/or the Council of Elders and Black Alliance. That's what I've asked for. So I think that's where we are with the communication request, Jane.
Okay.
On the other,
Realistically, we're running out of time.
Yes.
We are.
And I think we're just going to have to use the information that's in front of us and draw our own conclusions, make our own comparisons. And I actually believe that we have sufficient information to do that with Hope's help. And if Tanya can get back and having looked at the proposals, give us some feedback about how they're related to each other and how they might relate to the county's communication efforts, that probably is enough for us to make a decision about these applications. But the 7th will be here before you know it.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
And that's our hard deadline.
Totally. So do we want to table this for now?
I like your idea of considering the Crime Commission and the Council of Elders applications together, the communications element, which is what we're doing now. I haven't looked at the 20-page document that Hope just sent.
I don't even have it. I don't think.
So for me personally, speaking only for myself, it would be good if I had a chance to review that document if Hope thinks that it will inform our decision about the Council of Elders application and the communications piece.
Well, could
Can you guys hear me now?
Could we approve, to me, the Crime Commission application hits all the points that we want to make. So could we approve that, but encourage them to reach out to the African American Council of Elders to work with them in developing that? And if we can get all of those together, we would actually provide more funding. So that we can, I mean, we are running out of time.
I appreciate you pushing us because that's what needs to happen, Jane. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves just.
Well, we're going to have money that isn't spent for
just-
what we want it to go for.
So with that, we need to be able to do this, what I would say, intentionally, where they would get together, that we would, in order for the funding to occur, they need to get together.
Yeah.
And it would be, we continue to say communication, but I think what I'm also looking at is the health wellness, the mental health. Because that's what this one that you're
Right, and
referring
I don't
to
think
is.
what I suggested, this would be in addition to that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just was trying to take the communication pieces together. At least get one
Okay.
of them moving.
Okay.
I mean-
So with that, then what I'm hearing is that we would take the communication request, ask that's clearly stated in the Wichita Crime Commission, overlay that with what's being requested. Well, it's going to fall in line with what the county is currently implementing.
Right, I think.
And then also overlay that with what is being requested by the Council of Elders, right? No?
The Council of Elders is requesting, if I have this number right from our last conversation, $542,000 for a media campaign.
That's not where we're
And-
at.
No,
And my
that's not where
understanding
we're at.
is
We can't do
that
that.
Hope doesn't have any more detailed information from them about what that would look like and who they would work with and that sort of thing. So what Jane is suggesting is that the Council of Elders, the people who are involved with the Council of Elders, and specifically with the media campaign request, reach out to Tanya and the county to coordinate efforts. I actually, if I'm reading the Crime Commission request correctly, their request is very specific. They want to make videos. I don't remember how they want to use the videos, but potentially they could be used by the county and their communications campaign, or in the media campaign the African American Council of Elders puts together. But it's on the African American Council of Elders folks who are proposing the $542,000 media campaign to get with the county today, if Tanya has time, to figure out the specifics of this request, how they're going to amplify the message of the county. Tanya gave examples of how they could do that now. At the moment, they're focusing on healthy behaviors, but they're not including African American or Latinx voices, right? So that's what the Black Alliance media campaign could provide, potentially.
And if we're thinking that we've captured the total Council of Elders request, remember it's pretty broad, because it also includes the 30,000 for food assistance for, let me get there.
No, that's the other applicant. There's two apps from them. That's the other one.
Okay, so we're solely,
I'm only talking about the communication one, the 684. No, that's all
but
right.
I thought we were on the 697. Which one are we on?
I think we've been
Going
bouncing
back
back
and
and
forth.
forth.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just, okay, we'll just stick to the communication request period.
But we
Brent, in
could,
the application that you're looking at right now, is there a media request?
no, not in
No.
697.
Not in 697,
All right,
yeah.
sorry. I thought we were trying to cobble together all the communications requests and solve that
Right,
problem.
that's what I was trying to do, was to approve the one from the Crime Commission, because we know who they're working with, it's the videos, it's mental health plus COVID. It hits both the Latino community and the African American community. The county's
Good.
already working with the same agencies, so I was wanting to approve that, but ask them to reach out to the African American Council of Elders to see if there's some additional communications ideas they have, and maybe we would come back and expand the dollars, but for right now, we would at least get one of them moving.
I move that we recommend approval of $40,000 allocation to the Wichita Crime Commission application 684 for the purpose of creating influencer videos using the consultants and details that they provided.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the $40,000 request from the Wichita Crime Commission for their marketing program. It is application number 684. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposition?
But I do want them to reach out to the Council of Elders and see if they can work together.
Okay.
And maybe, I'm willing to do additional funding if that requires more. But
Okay.
But I think that the funding needs to be tied to that. I think that
Okay.
needs to be a part of the
okay,
Okay.
that's
motion,
fine. That's fine.
and/or are you just going to add that?
We'll give them instruction to.
Instructions, yeah.
Specifically, reach out and find out how much more of the
Right, can they,
542, right, coordinate together. We've got consultants in place maybe, and we'll just see where that goes. And
Can you ask them also, Brent, to reach out to Tanya or whoever is
Yes.
the lead at the county on the
Yeah.
communications campaign?
I think communications, I think I heard them say they're going to be reaching out.
Yes.
So we'll
Okay,
reach
great.
out to them to make
Thank
sure that
you.
we're coordinated. Okay, so then we'll table the other one as those communications, between all the communications folks are occurring,
Right.
to develop that coordination. And then we've been discussing application number 697 with the African American Council of Elders. And it's got multiple components, as we know, so I don't know that we have additional information from last week. or if we're prepared to move forward with any of these requests.
Well,
And
I
I
would
just
be,
wanted to make a note real quick. It hasn't been updated in the Salesforce system yet, but that $750,000 ask for the mental health portion, again, just a reminder, that's $194,000 now. And they did send that breakout that I had sent you guys last meeting that kind of breaks out the 194,000. So just wanted to put that out there.
So the total request at this time, Hope, is, just for clarification, is how much?
$194,000 for the mental health training.
I thought it was 195.4.
Okay, 195.4,
But
but then the total request? I had that written down, I
I
just
thought it was
wanted to make sure we're
195.4.
clarifying.
Did we do the?
195.4 is what's on the last thing I think I got. I'm prepared to move forward on parts of this.
Yes.
Okay.
I would be willing to approve the temporary facilities, the disinfection costs, the work from home IT, the 195.4 for the mental health coordination with the Association of Black Psychologists. And the food assistance program, I think, but I just the three without the food comes to 225,750, and anyway, I would support those being approved today.
Is that a motion?
I can make that motion.
What are you leaving out of the?
Right now, I'm leaving out the 174,000 because that is this Clean Right LLC, which does not exist in the Kansas Secretary of State's database as an entity, but maybe they exist somewhere. I couldn't. I'm a little anyway, and I don't understand. I'm probably okay with Pure Heart Worship Center, but I'm not. I think that's I can't figure out the 230s.
One of the 30s is food.
Right.
Food, and then the other is expanding their facility. Is that what those two are?
Food assistance, 30,000, expanding services cost.
Well, I think that's all Pure Heart Worship Center. Is that an entity too?
It is a worship center.
But is it part of the
It's not part of the
Council of Elders?
Hope, I think one of our questions about this portion of the application was how they're going to account for the expenditures and report
Right.
to you. Did you find out anything more about that?
I did not. Was that on the 174?
Yes.
Well,
Yes,
It's on the
part
app-
of it.
It's on
yeah.
the application period. It's on the total.
Right.
Well, and
exactly.
actually, all of the mental health program, there's all kinds of costs going to be running through that.
So,
Yeah, they did a really good breakout on the.
They
the mental.
did, but who's going to do all that? I mean,
so
do they need some support?
I have an answer.
Go ahead. Oh, good. Okay.
I actually, excuse me, that donut just got me. I had to have some sugar. In the conversation that I had with the council, it was with the Black Alliance, members of the Council of Elders was on the call. They have actually entered into an agreement with the Wichita State Community, I have to think for a moment, CEI. What is it? Community Engagement Department to manage the funds. Now, if you're familiar with who they are, and you might want to do a little bit of investigating, Of course, they are an arm of Wichita State, but they do house and are the auspice holding for several grants. They're all about community engagement. Their focus, their target is on that, engaging the community in multiple ways. So that's my understanding. You know, I'm believing that you would actually get a memorandum of understanding and/or an actual agreement that shows them as the finance arm of the entity, of the fiscal agent, which is the Council of Elders. That was what was shared with me. This came actually from Danielle Johnson at Wichita State, as well as the presiding elder, Terrell Florence, for the Council of Elders. So, in other words, they would not manage the funds. That would be contracted for the community engagement. CEI, I believe, is who they are with Wichita State.
So would that be the contracting agency with the county?
We would need to clarify that.
Okay,
But it sounds as though yes.
okay.
Is there a budget? They're not going to do it free, so is there a cost for that?
They would need to share that. I don't have that. I don't have that information.
Well, if we would approve it, then can the county work out the details of how to,
Yes.
so that we can start moving forward?
Yes, we can work that out.
Okay, but we should have some parameters on the accounting costs.
They should be able to get that to us. I don't,
They should.
well, it needs to be requested. I have requested it.
Sounds like
And we can-
you've done everything you can.
We can make
Um,
the award recommendation based on what we have. And then if they come in with supplemental request for the administrative costs to do that, we can always approve additional allocation.
That's an elegant solution. I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
They have to provide a budget for the accounting portion or the administration of the grant. But we can, at this moment, if we wish, approve what it is they're proposing to do with these health services.
I'm sorry, which services?
All the mental health services.
Oh, the mental health services.
Well, and I would approve the work from home IT and the temporary facility. It's $1,200. I'm not positive what it is, but that's pretty small. And the $150 of disinfection costs.
Is that still the 225, 750?
Yes, that's all in that.
Okay.
The food program is not in that.
The food program
30,000.
is not
Okay.
in that. I'm not necessarily opposed to it, I just didn't include it at that point.
I don't.
Well,
I
and if you can, that would be 60 if you do the two. The expanding services of 30 and the food of 30.
Okay, so what I've requested revised budgets for each of the projects. I think we've already worked through the communication. The budgets have to reflect the timeline that the CARES Act represents. So I believe that the funding should be contingent upon revised budgets that are accurately account for the funds that are the programs that we have decided to fund.
In the essence of keeping things moving,
Correct.
Would you like to make a motion to approve
We can
either this list
Up-
or with the food and the other emerging need, contingent upon receiving that? Then the commission can then make that approval this week, and as we get into, before disbursement of funds, we're going to see a budget, we can bring it back to this group.
Correct, and that
Okay.
would better reflect what we're actually, it would best reflect
Okay.
what we're actually funding. Is anyone opposed to that? Or does that make does it matter to see an accurate budget?
So are we including I'm not quite sure what we're voting on.
Are you adding, did
Are
you
you
want to add
adding
the
the-
30,000?
The two $30,000 numbers,
Well, what is I know what the food assistance is, but what's the other one?
the other one I think is something to do with expanding the Pure Heart Worship Center food distribution program.
Yeah, it says in the application that the budget would be 90,000, and so far they've spent 60,000, so they're requesting an additional
30,
30,000.
and then plus 30 for food, I think.
So that would be a reimbursed cost that they would receive. Okay.
No?
No?
They're only asking for the additional, aren't they? They're not asking for 90, they're asking for 30.
But they're stating that they've spent 60?
Yeah, they do, but they
Right.
didn't ask for it. It's not in their app.
Well,
It
Unless-
may be that they have, the expenditure to date's approximately 60. That maybe part of that 60 is that 30 for I don't know.
I don't know.
It's just-
well, that's why, I mean,
Wanna-
I don't think there's anything wrong with requesting
Mhm.
a clearly delineated budget. I think we can state what it is that we're going to fund.
I think I would be ready to go with 750 because we know that the 30,000's for food, which would then be the PPE, the work from home, the 1,200 for, now I can't get to that.
Temporary
part.
facilities is the
Temporary
1,200.
facilities, the 30,000 for food, and then 195 for, which
Yeah.
would take it to 255, 750. Before any disbursements are made, then we would get a detailed budget, bring it back before this group, and you could say yes or no on that point. But we
Okay,
would then have the approval of the commission to move forward.
okay.
Did you put that in a motion?
I'll make it a motion that we approve $255,750 for the African American Council of Elders. Would be $150 that we've already approved for PPE and disinfecting, cleaning, $1,200 for temporary facilities, $29,000 for work from home IT, $30,000 for the food program, and then $195,400 for the mental health program.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Does anyone need a break, or you want to keep plowing through?
An observation. Hope has gotten feedback from KVC Hospital and several other applicants. Can we try to set a goal of getting through, so it's 10:50 now. How about if we take a 10-minute break? And at 11, we turn our attention in one concentrated hour to I think, Hope, you said there are 11, or Brent, 11 applications that we haven't reviewed. Is that correct?
I think that's about right.
Okay. That we get through at least half of those, starting with the applications that Hope has answers to questions from. And that we spend no more than 8 minutes, 5 to 8 minutes on each one of those applications. We need something that focuses our attention to drive us through these applications more quickly.
Do we have a timekeeper?
Let's try that.
Okay. I will have the hammer.
Okay.
Okay. Let's reconvene at 11 o'clock and continue on.
Thank you.
Okay.
or white were good. And hers, and what she made the color of navy blue. So it's a navy blue. So I was thinking even a gold, what do they call that? That, cobalt? No, something. It's a cobalt blue, but what's that gold?
Also, based on live is now.
I was thinking. It's different. I wear so much black. Yeah. Yeah, today I just.
We've got one of them going, right?
Yep. YouTube is still up and running, so.
Anyway, I tried your beans and I had it with a hamburger,
Okay.
and that was great. But then the second day, I did them just by themselves, and they were too spicy. I needed food
You need
with
something
it.
to go
I
with
need
it.
something with it.
Yeah.
So,
They
I
do get, they come back and get you.
Yeah, they did.
The first and the second, it's like, oh, these are good. And then the third one, it's like,
Take your
oh.
life off.
Oh.
Well, actually,
Just advertise.
if you guys are ready, we can jump back in since it's 11:02.
But I will, and I've mentioned it several of my friends, I got the last one. They just can't keep on. I'm like, well, that's good. It's good, but
All right, we are back to continue reviewing public health and social service applications. Just as a note for our viewers, our Facebook live stream is down, but our YouTube feed is still going. So if you would like to move over to YouTube, we would encourage that. And I'll give it back to you, Brent.
Thank you, Aaron. We've got about an hour left in this meeting. And let's go next. Hope, do you have a particular order for the ones that you've received information on? I think KVC, Salvation Army, a couple were that you'd received supplemental information. So I'll let you take it from here and guide us through the next couple.
All right. Let's go ahead and, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I put on headphones. So, okay, let's go ahead and finish up the Wichita Metro Crime Commission application.
not bad.
So I had sent out additional information that I had received. So I know that we just approved 684. So let's go ahead and look at 685. So this one is the $10,000 that they're asking for research on this application. So we had asked what data they were collecting and the impact and changes that COVID has made to these services, how organizations are adjusting, what changes they have made, and what does this mean for the future. We reached out to public safeties, nonprofits, and public agencies, and the intent is to tell our community story of the impact. Our second question was, have you already built a survey and you just need WSU to distribute it? And they said WSU will need to create and distribute. And the way that it specifically relates to COVID is that organizations and communities of color have especially been hit hard with COVID. Policymakers and MHSA coalition need to have a better understanding of this impact to better serve the community in the future. And this was not previously allocated in their budget. It was brought on by COVID. So those were the questions that the group specifically wanted me to ask on that.
Well, I would move that we approve the $10,000 application for this survey.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve $10,000 to the Wichita Crime Commission pursuant to application number 685. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Well, I think Dr. Walker said she could not vote on that. Didn't she? Should that be in the minutes that she abstained?
Yeah,
I think so.
I think she
that's
said
right.
that.
She did mention that the other day. She could not.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. You ready to move on to the next one?
Yes.
All right, this is the same Wichita Metro Crime Commission. We'll look at number 679. This is for the $40,000 telehealth devices. So they said this idea was not really an option pre-COVID, not being able to bill for some telehealth services. Not all telehealth was reimbursed in the past. So Sedgwick County treatment providers would administrate the program, and working with the coalition staff, they will measure its effectiveness and develop a plan for accountability with the devices. So basically, it's going to be 133 computers at $250 per computer with a $50 setup fee.
Did you say $250 per computer?
Yes.
That's the cost for the computer?
Yes, it says that it is I sent it, let's see, when I sent out yesterday? It says it's an HP Stream 14-inch laptop. It says cost is $300 per unit, which includes the setup. So it's $250 per computer with a $50 setup fee.
Hope, do you have an understanding of how these devices will be used?
Let's see.
Yeah, we've approved most of these agencies already buying them, haven't we?
It said it should be noted that in the past, transportation was a barrier for some people to get in-person treatment, and with this option, it's no longer a barrier, and that's why some people would be able to get more treatment than they had in the past. But I think that's all I have on here in terms of how they would get the laptops out and whatnot.
I'm assuming since they're going to be distributed through the Mental Health and Substance Abuse Coalition, that we're talking about devices that will go to people who experience severe mental illness or addiction, and that somehow that's going to connect them to services. But I am completely unclear on that point from the application. I mean, what services are we talking about? Case management? Are we what are we talking about here?
Not at all.
You're not going to be distributing methadone using a telehealth device. So what are we talking about?
It says that they're going to be providing services via telehealth after they started doing that after COVID struck. And this is proven to be beneficial, and therefore it's actually a number of higher visits for people to be able to make the connection using this technology.
Sounds like they're following a model that they saw in Oklahoma. So there's some indication that this has worked in that jurisdiction.
Well, I believe it's worked in this jurisdiction with ComCare. ComCare's gone. I don't think they've changed yet, but ComCare was doing solely telehealth, mental health services, providing, versus in-person treatment. And that's what I also note is that it should be noted that in the past, transportation was a barrier for some to get in-person treatment. With this option, it's no longer a barrier. That's why some have been able to receive more help than in the past. I would wager to say that this actually does afford them face-to-face via technology an opportunity for mental health services if they can, if they reach them.
But we've already funded them for Breakthrough Club, Mental Health Association, Goodwill.
You're talking about persons that have
We've
mental-
already funded computers for telehealth for numerous agencies. So I don't know who they're going to give them to that we haven't already funded. There's probably some, I don't know.
There might be agencies that, there's lots of mental health service providers, and it's unlikely that they all have telehealth devices, but the agency has to be able to effectively utilize the device, right?
Right.
I guess my question was more about that. But we're unsure.
Well, but
So,
yeah, we've talked about this before. Wichita Metro Crime Commission has 2 employees, I believe.
Employees.
employees, they're requesting the funds in order to make the purchase and distribute.
So who are they working with?
Who are they working with?
Well, it does say in that email that Sedgwick County treatment providers would administer the program.
I'm sorry.
It says in the application that the mental health and substance abuse treatment coalition would be facilitating the distribution of these devices.
Okay. So
So is that ComCare?
it's
Is that who that
ComCare's,
is?
ComCare's
No,
what?
it's not
not
ComCare. I mean, there is a staff person at ComCare
Yes.
who, in addition to other duties, is involved with the coalition. Whether that person has time to work with agencies to assist in the distribution of the devices, I'm unsure. Maybe Brent would know, not sure.
Well, I think we ought to table this one and move on to something that we
Yes.
have more information on.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have one more from the Crime Commission, I believe.
I think we've got them all.
No, we haven't done the API, have we? 678?
Yeah, we have one more,
right,
number
that's right. I'm
678.
This is another one I'm going to have to recuse myself from.
This one talks a little bit about, do you want me to go ahead and go into it?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So this one, they kind of talked about the API or bridge program is needed now because we all need to work much smarter than we have in the past. Budgets have been devastated and the need has been increased specifically because of COVID. They hired Brenda Dietzman in March or April after COVID had started its devastation and formulated the plan for the API based off of her experience developing a similar project at the county. So the idea of an API was not formulated until after she was hired, after COVID had hit. Although the API was not being looked at initially, there was a discussion to share information amongst providers. So however, we believe that COVID has driven a need for the API because it will be more efficient and in real time, and it will also eliminate the need for providers to set away time to discuss client situations and allow them to continue working instead of being in a meeting. There was some more information in the email that I provided to all of you, but I think that kind of sums up a little bit what we were talking about in terms of if this was pre-COVID and if they had budgeted for it.
Should I know what API is? API or bridge program?
It's just an interface between databases. There's a term
Okay,
that API stands for, but basically it's an interface between one or more
between
databases.
programs.
And this is Lindsay. I will share that we've had some robust discussion as staff on what does necessary due to COVID actually mean. I think Kevin Stamper, who's the other staffer on this call, and I each have some concerns about that burden having been met even with this updated information. So I would just ask this review team to take a hard look at that. That is one of the 3 basic criteria that we have to meet in order to fund these types of expenses.
So I know we've talked about this before. They state that High Touch is not, let's see, as far as the budget goes, there was a question that if High Touch had already built part of the program, they must already have been paid. That is not right. They have a template that has been built for other similar projects that can be applied. So the bare bones of the program is in their possession, and it would just need to be purchased. So we are talking about the interface between platforms, between programs. And I think we were questioning how it would be staffed, who would actually do the follow-up and the follow-through on it, and to understand, to further help the panel understand the WMCC. Who's WMCC, please? I don't know. WMCC and the MH.
The WMs would be the Crime Commission.
That is the Crime Commission. Okay, so to better understand between the Crime Commission and the Mental Health Coalition, understands the delicate legal nature of this project.
Yeah, I can see would be.
Consultants, public policy. So they haven't created the survey, and I think they said that, they basically said that they believed that they could do it.
So who all has access to this data? I don't even know who all these acronyms are. Is this partly going to the law enforcement or
I think they're in the process of building this project, that there
They
are
are.
lots of unanswered questions. I don't think they know exactly how it's going to unfold.
Well, I can see this would be a good thing. I do get it's how related to COVID it is would be some risk, maybe.
I think, well, they stated that it's been exacerbated.
Yes,
Simply.
but that's
I agree.
a little weak.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's clearly going to continue after COVID, hopefully is a thing of the past. I don't know.
I would move to table this. I don't have enough information. And I like the concept of having an interface, the ability to do that, because it is needed. But they're in the process of building this program. It's not built out. But I'm but one person.
Okay, doesn't
So,
sound.
Lindsay, have you run this by Whit O'Brien as to whether this would be qualify?
No, ma'am, but we can certainly do that.
That might be helpful.
Okay, happy to.
Just give us some more assurance. I mean, because I do think it's a good thing for the community, but I don't want to put the county at risk.
Thank you.
So I would table it and ask specifically that we ask our consultant to review this.
I agree.
Okay, Hope, which one would you like to take up next?
Let's look at KVC Hospital. So I had sent out a response yesterday. The review team wanted to know on KVC hospitals that they have received over 3.1 million in PPA loans from SBA, which should have covered staff costs for several months. Have they adjusted the cost requested for amounts already covered by the PPP loan? And they said that KVC hospitals did receive a PP loan for the period of the third week of April to the second week of June 2020. The intensive COVID-19 protocol trainings and modifications to service delivery included in our ask to Sedgwick County falls outside of the PPP funding timeline specified above.
That seems strange to me that they didn't do any training in that period of time, but I don't know.
The questions that I have is, it actually came from the information that you shared with us, Hope, and the decrease in the census was prior to COVID. They were already seeing less clients, less patients.
This is a brand-new hospital.
Fairly.
So I think they had never, I don't think they dropped, I just don't think they ever built it.
Built up.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
It was built, it was cited here on the, you would say, data that showed the need for it. So clientele base was envisioned to be here, but I'm just saying, they name it, they call it a decrease census prior to COVID. And is there a need? Okay, so they quantified the hundreds of hours of training. They were, I believe they were able to quantify that. And to your point, they refer to the expense as outside of the PPP funding timeline. I'm not sure that I understand that.
They're saying that basically what they're asking for is on here was after that timeline. So it would be what, June through the end of the year is what the email states.
Right. And that's a projection. Yeah.
Did this hospital not receive substantial healthcare funding? I don't have that sheet in front of me, like the two regional hospitals did. I seem to think I looked at that and they didn't receive much other CARES funding.
It looks like on their application, it just says the other federal grants received was the 543,000 and then 25,000
Okay.
in total private funding.
The 543, okay.
Yeah.
And then the PPP was in a separate 3.1 million.
Jane, it sounds like you know a bit about this psychiatric hospital.
A little bit.
kids.
I actually contributed to building it, and a foundation board I'm on also. We were not major contributors, and I have no affiliation with the group. There was a concerted effort about 2 years ago. There was no inpatient pediatric psychiatric facilities in Sedgwick County. So Sedgwick County was having to, patients in Sedgwick County were having to be sent elsewhere, out of the county, and there were pretty large numbers. So this is an organization, I believe it's based in Kansas City, and they have psychiatric hospital there. And they then built a new pediatric psychiatric hospital for inpatient care in Wichita. They had a large capital campaign. I believe it opened about a year ago. It's over on West 21st Street near Twin Lakes. It's where it's located. I remember from the capital campaign that was felt there was a huge need in Sedgwick County for inpatient beds for children. Suicide, all
Right.
kinds of eating disorder, lots of things, and that's what they do.
Yeah, typically when they receive a patient, they're, most of them, I think, are suicidal or near that.
Right.
And rather than having their family have to transport them to Kansas City or the facility in
Right.
Hayes, they would then be able to do it here.
So I'm very supportive of the cause, and I think I'm glad we have a facility like this now in Sedgwick County.
I also just wanted to note real quick that no dollars were given to KVC or Rock Regional from federal provider relief funds.
Okay.
I was just informed of that, so just wanted to put that out there because I know that was a question from the team. Lindsay gave me that information, so I wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Hope. So help me understand what they're requesting funding to do. They talk about training, they talk about psychiatric hospitalization. I'm certain ComCare refers young people there who are in danger of harming themselves or others. So during this COVID period, I'm having a hard time sussing out from their application how it's affecting them. That's why I asked you, Jane, if you could address.
No, I am not knowledgeable enough.
No idea.
No,
Okay.
no, I really don't.
Okay.
From what I can see, it looks like it's talking about isolation beds, which I'm not the expert. I don't 100% know what that means. But to me, it kind of seems like they're talking about the intense training that they had to put on for those isolation beds to be able to maybe socially distance or whatnot. They talk a lot about training in the isolation beds.
So you think that training is related to isolation and not related to trauma systems therapy, trauma-informed care?
No, I think it's
I was
about
unclear.
training.
Just
for
from what
COVID.
I read, which granted, I'm not the expert on this application, but from what I read, I'd love to hear anyone else's opinions, but it seems like they talk a lot about the training being for the isolation beds.
Well, they speak to additional training for infectious disease, screening employees and families and so forth that are visitors, focused on things that they wouldn't have been focused on otherwise. Like the infectious disease type of control training.
So this is all directly COVID related then?
Yeah, I think it qualifies for COVID. It
Okay.
seems to me. They wouldn't, this wasn't a hospital treating infectious disease before. So they would have had to change protocols, and I think that makes sense to me.
Okay. And Hope, I've forgotten your email communication from them. The requested amount is still $207,100, or is it changed?
No, KVC's request has not changed. Yeah, the $207,100 total.
Okay. I move that we recommend an allocation of CARES funding in the amount of $207,100 to KVC Hospital in support of their psychiatric care.
Second.
Second.
Go ahead, Kyle.
So we have a
Gene's
motion.
got that.
We have a motion and a second to approve a total award of $207,100 to KVC hospitals. That is inclusive of the money that we have already approved for their disinfection costs. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Brent, did you say that included their PPE costs?
Yeah, the total request is 207,100, and we did approve
Okay.
15,000 for disinfection costs earlier.
Okay, thanks.
So is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
All right, well, while we're on hospitals, let's just go ahead and let's talk about Rock Regional. Over there. Rock Regional, just a reminder, is requesting $150,000. We did receive a follow-up on some of the questions that we had. So they're kind of breaking out their dollars because we didn't have anything broken out in that $150,000 request. So the first one is facilities. It says construction/equipment costs associated with outfitting the medical office building for patient rooms is $40,000. And construction equipment costs associated with creating a conference room with video conferencing, et cetera, for doctors to use for telemedicine is $10,000. And then the second one for laptops is remote work capable staff, 30 people with laptops at approximately $1,000 each is $30,000. And then a nursing mobile station for $10,000 and bedside monitoring for $5,000.
Carly, am I right? Is this in Derby?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's correct. It's a new facility up on North Rock Road there, south of McConnell. It's up on the northern edge of in Derby.
Okay, so they had a hospital and then they had an office building next door, is that, which they're converting into rooms, is that? I've never seen this facility, so
So they have a hospital. There is some outbuildings around it, but those aren't, they're like specialists. Some of them are associated with the hospital, but it's kind of a mix. So I don't know how they have it set up for COVID. I haven't been in there since that COVID timeframe has occurred.
But, so was this their office building they converted, or do we know? Is it part of the hospital?
Well, it's same ownership, yes. So yes, it's got to be their building.
Is it, Hope, your understanding that this additional space is used for distancing, is needed for distancing, and is this a temporary thing?
I do think it is used for the social distancing. I'm not 100% sure on the temporary thing. Let me see if I can find anything else out on when I look at the application. It is in the temporary facilities ask, but I don't necessarily.
Sounds kind of permanent though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does kind of sound permanent. Let me see. So in the facilities, the first part when they answered, and then Shannon asked for them to actually give dollars, they said for the facilities, it was to update the medical office building space to handle overflow of patients and create conference rooms for the telemedicine. So it kind of does sound like that they're updating their current office, and it probably will be permanent is what that kind of indicates, but I could be wrong.
That's how I interpreted it too, just checking. And the total ask you said is 150,000?
Yes.
I move that we recommend an allocation of $150,000 to Rock Regional Hospital.
Second.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to allocate $150,000 to Rock Regional Hospital. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Hope, do you
All
have any
right.
more that you
Yep.
want to?
Yep, next we will go to Envision.
Okay.
So Envision is asking for $167,000. And they did provide me with some follow-up. Okay, so they said for the mental health breakdown portion, that it's a portion of salary to hire a full-time LCSW, additional staff support, which is reallocation of some resources, training cost, material cost, and marketing and outreach support. In the emerging needs section, they said it's travel, expenses, staffing, equipment for in-home visits within Sedgwick County. The need continues to grow as medically fragile patients are unable or unwilling to leave their homes, and this need is straining the system. We can segregate funding through a grant management process to ensure these funds are for Sedgwick County residents only. And clients are already being served, but the program is not efficient to meet the demand or the need, and they need to expand. And these costs are only from the period for March through December of 2020.
Hope, is there a breakout of, and I know that's what we requested, is it actually itemized?
It is, no, it is not itemized by dollars.
Yeah,
Just this.
yeah,
You got that.
I have, but I mean,
Hope, do you think the LCSW will continue on beyond the end of the year?
I mean, it kind of, from the way they responded to the email, it seems like maybe they said a portion of the salary to hire them. So I know they were talking about March through December 2020, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, me either, but I think they might be planning to.
That's kind of what I was thinking. And I guess if it's the will of the group, like Brent kind of said earlier, I can ask for specific breakdown dollars, but being that it's reimbursable only, if you guys are okay with those specific costs, there's an option to throw that out there.
And the amount requested again is 167,000.
Right. Yeah, what I
Yes.
like about this, it targets a population that none of our other applications do, which is the visually impaired. So I would be okay with approving the entire 167,000.
second,
Make a motion.
I move, so move.
I second.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve $167,000 for Envision. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Hope, do you have another one you want to take up, or was that exhaust the list for?
I think that exhausts the list for right now. I know we had a follow-up for Girls on the Run, but they have not emailed me back yet with a detailed breakdown.
Well, have we done Holy Family Medical? Because that's on this pending list, and we did not cover that this morning.
Right. No, that was.
I think
I'm
that's
saying.
just PPE or something, isn't
Yeah.
it?
So I think those were the only ones that Hope had received, or that we received supplemental information on. So what I'm looking at, they would be Holy Family Medical, Miracles
Yes.
Yeah, miracles, I don't think we've done.
Did we do anything with Workforce Alliance? Did we do
Haven't
that?
gotten to that one yet.
Okay, okay.
So, okay.
Well, not today, we didn't.
I don't think we've
What's
done-
on his list is.
At all.
It's at the bottom of,
Mm-hmm.
underneath Wichita Metro Crime Commission.
But that means we haven't done them, doesn't this list?
Right,
Okay.
correct. Okay, let's look at Holy Family Medical,
I think I brought that one.
because we have previously approved some for them.
We did.
Can we go back to the practice of somebody doing a brief summary of the application, just to
I'm
remind
just
us?
trying to get the application pulled up.
Sure. Are we talking about Holy Family Medical?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it looks like the total application ask is $9,680. PPE is $1,345. Disinfectant cost is $3,335. And expanding service cost is $5,000.
I remember this one, I think we approved the PPE and disinfecting, but the other was a diabetes program that was really not
Correct.
COVID related.
I agree. So I think we should just let our allocation recommendation stand.
For the $4,680.
Okay,
Okay, Hope, you're on a roll. Keep going.
I think the next one, then let's take up Miracles, Inc. Because that one has changed. Current request now is $49,956.
956,
49,956, right?
and that's the 00655.
Yes.
Okay.
Brent, with that one being updated, can you read off those numbers for me, please?
So, for Miracles, Inc., the total request, $49,956. We have approved $2,366 for PPE, $2,400 for disinfecting costs. There's an ask for temporary facilities of $3,515, and work from home ITIS of $41,675. So the remaining portion would be the temp facilities and the work from home.
And they specifically say that it will be sustainable without additional funds after the end of the year. The bulk of it's for IT. Well, I move we approve the $49,956.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the total request of $49,956 for Miracles, Inc. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh. Motion carries unanimously. Looks like Workforce Alliance of South Central Kansas. Let me call that application up.
All right, it looks like this one is, the request is $65,500, and it's all going to be in work from home IT costs.
This application is a slam dunk for me. So they spent $25,500 to set up DocuSign.
Oh, yeah.
They're asking for $40,000 that they've already spent to purchase 20 laptops and the software for a total of $65,500. I move that we approve a recommendation of this allocation to the Workforce Alliance.
Second.
I've got a conflict on this one, if you just make sure you note that.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve the full request for Workforce Alliance of South Central Kansas. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And we have one abstention. So that motion passes. I'm looking at the list to see what might still be out there that we would have received additional information for. We
I
would
think
have.
Girls on the Run is one,
Mhm. I don't
and there's
think-
just no information in their app as to what they're gonna do. We're,
I did get an email back from the Salvation Army. Could I bring that up real quick?
Sure.
sure.
Okay, so the response was that the total ask is what's on the application. So they're not, they just noted that 61,530. And then, well, let me see, hold on. Nope, yep, we're right. So the total ask is, I had broken it out where the items that were already on the application, but they also are asking for the 61,530 and the 5816 and the 1498. So the total application cost was 234,374. Jane, will you check my math on that?
No, that's what because I didn't think they had included that in their numbers.
Nope, you were correct. They did not.
Okay.
They had included it in the portion of where they were summarizing the details, but I think
Right.
there was confusion on that it needed to actually be in one of the subcategories.
Right.
I'd like to make a motion that we recommend an allocation of $234,374 to Salvation Army.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second to approve $234,374 for the Salvation Army. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I think according to what I'm seeing, that would leave additional information to receive from Ascension, Girls on the Run, Heart of Kansas, the African American Council of Elders, and a couple from the Wichita Metro Crime Commission.
Right. Could we?
What about the organizations we've reviewed in the past but haven't made a decision on, like Harn, and there's several?
I think we've allocated to a number of applicants.
Karn's not in the total. I don't remember that one, to tell you the truth. I'll go back and look. I'd kind of like to spend a few minutes. I realize, and it's just throwing this out. I come up with, we've done about another 1.2 million roughly this morning, which means we're right about 6 million, pretty close. But out of 18, and we've gone through almost every application except the huge Ascension one.
Right.
So what is our plan going forward? Because we have 18 million.
I think that what we should do is review each one of the outstanding applications, whether they have a ranking or not, and make a decision about them, and do Ascension last because it's such a large request. And then, based on whether or not there's anything left of the 18 million, if there is some money left, then my understanding is that everybody who's applied the first time will have an opportunity to apply again.
Are we
I'm only speaking for myself here, but since the pool of applicants will not change,
Well, that's a question I have. Will we open it up to others?
My understanding from what Brent said earlier is that we won't open it up to others.
Okay.
Well,
Is that correct, Brent?
Well, if this committee wants to make a recommendation that we open it up with some parameters, then we can take that to the county commission. It would be up to them to open this back up. We can stay with the group we have. We could open it up. To Dr. Walker's point, we do have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 applications that we just haven't finished yet because we're
Right.
waiting on information.
Right, but
So we can,
it concerns me that we have, I don't think, any applications specifically from the Hispanic community. We have no applications from the refugee community. And without opening it up to some degree, those are going to be shut out, and I can't believe there's no need for this funding there. So that is a concern I have.
I completely agree with you. I hope that if there is money left over, that we will quickly reopen and close again the application process.
And I concur.
Reaching out to the entities that you've described, as well as
There may be
smaller
more.
organizations providing services in both the Latin and the Black communities.
We can't go to specific groups and ask them to, I assume that's not.
No, we cannot go to specific. They have talked
Okay,
about that
they
before.
have to
that we
apply.
can-
Okay.
yeah, they have to apply on their own.
Okay.
I think in essence, what we're saying is we'd like to open it up.
Okay.
I'd like to know I think we need to know the parameters. How quickly can we actually get this accomplished?
well, we can, if the commission would approve Wednesday opening it up, we could open it up Wednesday afternoon.
Okay.
If you want to wait, if you want to put some parameters on an amount that's available in that, we could do that, knowing that we have some large requests still pending. So we could make a portion of it available in that second round.
I don't feel that we have to know exactly how much money remains. We just need to generate more applications. And if we can ask the BOCC for their, for a vote, I assume this would have to be a vote from them, to allow us to reopen the application process on Wednesday, then we could quickly open it and close it, within a 2-week window, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
So that by the end of October, we would have made decisions about all of the new applications. That should be the goal.
Okay.
By October 31st, we've completed all the allocations, all 18 billion.
Okay. And we can continue then to review the ones as supplemental information comes in that we have already seen. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure I heard exactly what you said, Brent, but maybe what you were saying was, in addition to the new applications, we can return to any of the applications that we currently have, or if the current applicants want to update their request, they are permitted to do that within this 2-week window. Either one is permissible.
Okay. I think that what my point was at Ascension, Girls on the Run, the African American Council, the Crime Commission, those that we're still waiting on information. We don't need to wait until the end of the 2-week period
No.
to make award recommendations on those.
Correct.
That's the only point I was trying to make there.
Yeah.
And then we would probably hold off on those new ones until we close the second round. We should be able to do it pretty quickly. I would recommend that if we do make that recommendation to open it on the 7th, then 14 days would be the 21st. I would close it on the 21st. We'll provide you with applications as they come in. And we have a regularly scheduled meeting then on the Thursday following. We could take them up on that morning and look at those additional requests.
Okay.
But nothing precludes us from ruling or making award recommendations on these others that could come to a meeting of the commission in the interim. So,
So what about the question of some of the people who are already, the organizations that are represented in the applicant pool currently, we could go back to them and based on their current application, make a different allocation decision. Ascension, for example, or one of the other applicants.
right, we
Is
could
that
fund,
correct?
yeah, we could fund part or all of any of those that we currently have. So if we wanted to fund portions of Ascension or a portion of another one, we could do that.
Another question, I understand there is a hope that the government will give us an additional 3 months to have the money spent. Do we know when we will know that? Because some of these groups would have 3 more months we could fund, I
Right.
think. Do we know when we will know that, if that's going to be allowed or not?
With everything happening in Washington, I couldn't tell. I wouldn't even guess. Kevin.
That would
has
really
been-
be helpful.
Yeah, Kevin's been monitoring that.
As
He
of this
might have
morning,
anything.
we don't know anything on that.
Okay.
The negotiations are continuing, and there have been times it's looked hopeful that there might be another relief bill, and there have been, including the extension of the use of these current benefits. But at this point, there's just no good way to tell.
So is the December 31st date in the legislation, or is that subject to change in some kind of regulations from the government?
December 30 is the date that's included in the CARES Act itself.
Okay, that's why they can't move it. Okay,
Right.
okay. Thank you.
So Brent, from a perspective of December 30th, the date in the CARES Act that you got to have the money spent by, but the county's asking, like for cities, for example, to spend it and turn it in by October 30. So how is that? I guess is the county needing time? Is that why they're asking for it so early for some of those expenses? Because they need time to process it and figure it out, or?
Right, and that gives us time to reallocate any unspent funds. If we go up to December 30th before we know, then money's going to be left on the table that we're going to have to send back.
So it can be money spent between October 30 and December 30. You just need it turned in by that date.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We just need to know what's still available, potentially to reallocate. So that's why we've moved some of these applications, or these agreements have called for knowing prior to December 30th.
So what was the November 30th encumbered date that we talked about on Thursday?
That's the date that is in the agreements for the public health social service agencies. So they'll do reconciliations, and then on November 30th, we'll know whether the funds have been incurred or not.
Okay. I want to make sure I understand it because I had a couple of organizations that was needing some clarification on that. So it's in order for the county to have a best idea that they'll actually be able to expend those dollars.
Right.
Yeah.
So if there's, we don't want to leave money on the table.
Right.
We want to bring it back to the community somehow.
And I just wanted to let the team know, I had received an email from Ascension last night at 9:00. I didn't see it until right now when the applicant emailed me, but it's pretty thorough. So I just sent that to the whole team. So can you guys please review that and make sure if you have any questions, you get to me prior so we can have a good, solid conversation on that at our next meeting.
Certainly. Can the committee remind me on Ascension? I mean, I understand that it's a large ask, first of all. Secondly, that they did receive funds from another pot. And what are the other, what are the challenges with us? I think, I know, Jane, you had mentioned, even though they haven't asked, Wesley.
Yeah.
So
Well, the other,
what are the thoughts on that request?
I think, well, the tough thing is for the for the capital expenditure, the large capital expenditure for that, to make a COVID wing, that it appears that they've got access to funds that they don't have to have spent by December 30th, that they've got some time going into 2021, that might be a better place to seek that funding. The others was work from home and some other types of costs that we could clearly look at those.
Well, the other issue is the Kansas, at their regional hospitals, shouldn't some of those costs be spread around the state, not just Sedgwick County?
Yeah.
That we don't, there's no communication between the Sparks Committee and our committee? Or not much?
There has, I mean, we've had some, but nothing that, they did offer to come, but it was after we had started, the timing for them being able to contribute to one of these meetings was after we were in the deep dive, making the allocations. I think there's a willingness, if we want to have them, speak specifically to that one.
Hope was, just in brief, did Ascension address any of what has been heard as concerns or questions that we have in the information that you said they just sent?
I'll have to pull it up. I have not had a chance to look at it.
Certainly.
So they attached the construction estimate that we had asked for. What other concerns or questions were you wanting to ask them? Basically, we just asked them to break out the dollars supporting what their COVID-related costs were.
Yeah, I think we were talking about the temporary facility, the additional wing, so the capital cost. They did detail that?
Yeah, they have it all detailed.
Okay.
Well, we have bumped up to our time limit for this meeting. One thing that I might propose is that going forward, if we continue to meet on Thursdays, we're a day behind the county commission meeting. So if we make award recommendations, we're 6 days away from them being able to approve it. If one of the group would like to consider meeting earlier in the week, Monday or Tuesday, so that if we make award recommendations, they're before the commission within the next day or two.
I'd be in favor.
Okay.
So which day are we blocking out here?
We could do, this room is not typically available on Tuesday mornings. It's a commission staff meeting, so we could do sometime Monday. We could do this same time on Monday mornings. We could do a Monday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon. I think any of those would be available.
Monday morning works for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I prefer morning than afternoon myself. I would. Dr. Walker's probably got a busier schedule than I do.
Why don't we, moving forward, let's move from our Thursday time frame to a Monday morning at 9 a.m. That'll give us a little more time to get information, and then we'll be quicker at getting those award recommendations.
So we're not meeting Thursday morning.
Right, let's just wait and we'll just postpone on that one, do it following, a week from today at 9 a.m.
And, okay, and how long will that meeting be next Monday?
Think 9 to 11 works? We can schedule it from 9 to noon. We don't have to continue that whole time. We'll just block this room for Monday morning and
Because we really don't have
Kick it
that
off.
much left.
we don't. But
Not
I'll
right
block the
now.
room and we'll just block out the time from 9 to noon and hopefully we'll be done sooner. We may surprise ourselves. Okay. Again, appreciate everybody's time. It's been quite a process so far and we'll continue through it. Is there anything else we need to consider today? If not, then I would move that we adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn.